These are the new metal releases for May 31st, 2024. I'm going to try something new this week. I'm going to divide the episode into two different videos. I'll post one today and one tomorrow, and each episode will have 3 albums. This way it'll be a little easier to watch and listen to. I have 3 bands. The first one is progressive metal mixed with a lot of different styles. Then I have a thrash band that changed their sound. Then I have a big name power metal band, so let's get into this. The first album I have is by WITHERFALL, and the album is called Sounds of the Forgotten. The band is from Los Angeles, California. They're listed in the Metal Archives website as heavy and progressive power metal. So to me, it sounds like a blend of many different genres. It's almost as if they're trying to create a unique subgenre within a subgenre or something like that. So let's talk about this album. The opening track is They Will Let You Down. Right out the gate with some intense drumming. The vocals are clean but very powerful. The guitar riffs are fast and heavy, and there is a progressive metal sound as there are some tempo and time signature changes that go on throughout the song. Yeah, they play classical music at one point, and I'm still talking about the first song. The second song was a power ballad called Where Do I Begin? This one was very different. It sounded like it came from the 80s. Not so much from the hair bands, but more like a band like Savatage. The song also has some progressive rock elements as well. They go full prog and classical on the second half of the song. Then they get a little darker and heavier. Keep in mind, we're only 2 songs into the album. The rest of the album has some short interlude tracks and longer songs in the 7 to 10 minute range. The song Insidious is very dark and heavy. Me of some King Diamond or Merciful Fate. The vocals were heavier and some higher range vocals. The song moves fast and has some intense guitar riffs. The overall sound was very evil, but there's also a part where they slowed down and play a haunting breakdown that was very theatrical. The song then moved into some progressive and classical rock territory. And there was the song Ceremony of Fire, which was like a power metal song, but like the other songs in the album, it has some classical music, some guitar shredding, and some darker tones throughout the song. Then there is Sounds of the Forgotten. This is more along the lines of a ballad, but it's hard to label these songs as just one thing because there's so much going on. I'm saying it's more of a laid-back song than some of the others. Towards the end of the album, there's a song called When It Falls Away, and this is another song that had a laid-back feel. The lyrics were very heartfelt. They spoke about going through some dark times and having someone there with you. Overall, I really like this album. I noticed that some of the band members played with Iced Earth, Demons and Wizards, and Sanctuary. So if you're a fan of those bands, I think you would like this. The band is different. They're unique. I wouldn't put them into one specific genre. What I can say is that they're heavy enough to satisfy lovers of extreme metal, but accessible enough for the casual metal listener. My score is an 8.5 out of 10. I think you should check it out. There were a lot of different ideas put into this album, and they all seem to have made it work. Next, I have a band called Shrapnel, and the name of the album is In Gravity. The band is from the United Kingdom, and they're listed as a thrash metal band, but I think they wanted to expand their sound because, to me, it sounded different. But I'll talk about that as I go through the songs. They're on Candlelight Records label. It's their 4th full-length album. The album opens with a song called In Gravity, or the title track. Keep in mind, this is my first time listening to the band, so it didn't sound like thrash to me. So I guess they're going for more of a modern metalcore sound. But bands change. Some people might not like it, but I kept an open mind with this album. The second track was Amber Screams. This was not too bad. Kind of a sludgy track. I can hear an Alice in Chains influence. The vocals were big and powerful. I also understand that they have a new vocalist, so he probably helped influence this new sound. His style is mostly clean singing, but with some harsh vocals as well. And some of the guitar riffs still sounded a little thrashy at times. The third track is called Guardian. This one was pretty heavy. Heard elements of thrash and metalcore. The song was heavy, but also had some melodic parts as well. Then there was a song Judgment. This was not too bad. This one had some heavy guitar riffs, reminiscent of thrash and progressive metal. The verse section had some clean vocals, followed by some harsher ones. Then there was the song Dark Age, and this one sounded more like some progressive metal with melodic metalcore. Some parts were more aggressive than the other parts, and some parts were more melodic, as is the case with most of the songs on the album. Then there was Follow the Cold. It was one of the more extreme metal songs on the album. Still had some melodic parts. I enjoyed the progressive metal style, the breakdown on that one. There was a short instrumental under 1 minute called As Above, and that one was played on an acoustic guitar. That one was brief but enjoyable. The penultimate song was called So Below, and I thought it was the closest thing to traditional thrash, although I wouldn't call it thrash. It had other elements, such as melodic vocals, but it was not too bad. The album closes with Absolution, which is a softer song with acoustic guitars. It sounded more like a thrash ballad to me. Had some softer sounds, some violins, and then it gets heavy about after 2 minutes. The song was very big and epic. Overall, not too bad. I clicked on this album because it was listed as thrash, but I understand that when bands decide to change. My score is a 7 out of 10. I think if you like music that can be both heavy and melodic, you would probably enjoy this. Now it's time for a big name band. The band is Rhapsody of Fire, and the album is Challenge the Wind. This is an Italian symphonic power metal band. They've been around for over 30 years now. This is their 14th studio album, released through AFM Records and produced by Alex Staropoli, who is the band's keyboardist. The album is the third and final chapter of the Nephilim's Empire Saga. It's a fairly long album. There are 10 songs, and the runtime is about 63 minutes. They also released 5 singles prior to the release of this album. Let me say, this is my first time listening to this band, although I've probably heard a few album cuts here and there over the years. The album opens with a title track, and it's what you would expect. Very fast drums and guitars. Very melodic, has some power metal vocals. The sound reminded me of a band like Blind Guardian. The lyrics are very fantasy-based. The song talks about magical spells and things like that. I'm not very familiar with this band, but they mention different characters, so I believe they're all part of a big story. Next track was Whispers of Doom, and this one had more of a melodic metal sound. The song used some of those symphonic elements and had some very intense guitar playing. The lyrics mention a black wizard who is a character that appears throughout the album. There was a song, The Bloody Pariah. This continues with their signature sound. It was a very melodic song, both with heavy guitars and keyboards. The longest song on the album is called Vanquished by Shadows. This one is 16 minutes long. It also has a different tone, the type of music that's usually happy sounding, but this one had a much darker tone and some heavier guitar riffs and death metal style vocals. The song goes through many different changes where different instruments are put in the spotlight. There are acoustic guitars in parts of the song. There's a part where it takes a happier tone. There's a keyboard solo as well. And then the next song after that is Creel's Magic Staff. And this one is about one of the characters in the story. The song continues with their sound of epic power metal. It was interesting because there was one part of the song that sounded like some flute playing. It gave the song a different sound. There's also a lot of guitar shredding on the song. Then things get heavy with the song Diamond Claws. It starts with some guitar playing, some riffs that sounded almost like speed metal, but the song alternated between heavy and light parts. Then there was The Black Wizard, and this song had more of that symphonic sound. The song had some very dramatic twists and turns, and it continued with the story. There's a song called A Brave New Hope. This is a mid-paced power metal, had a very big and epic sound. The penultimate song was called Holy Downfall, and I like the main guitar riff in this one. It took some of its influence from traditional heavy metal, but there were also sounds of power and symphonic metal in the sound. This one also had some violins in the background. The final song is called Mastered by the Dark. It had an acoustic intro, then it goes into a darker and heavier sound. The rhythm was slower, but the sound was big and epic. The song had softer and heavier parts. So, conclusion, I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it the second time I listened to it because I was wearing headphones at that time. And it's the kind of album you just listen to, sit back, transport yourself to this other world and get lost in all the fantasy. I thought it was good. For me, it's a solid 8 out of 10. I think if you're a fan of this band, you might score it higher. But for me, a casual power metal fan, thought it was pretty good. And also my first time listening to this band. So that is all. Like I said, I'm doing this week's video in 2 different parts only because I think I spent some extra time in the Rhapsody to Fire reviews. But there was a lot going on, so I wanted to talk about that. So please check out last week's episode. I'll stick that one right there. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you have not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.